All right, welcome back to Unemployed with Anna Roisman. Oh, it's me, Anna Roisman. And you know what? Today I was like, I'm going to say 30% employed. But some days that's the life, you know, and we embrace it and we love it. And, you know, this podcast is for everyone. It's for if you're a very successful person at a job, but you're sitting there listening to this at your job because you're miserable, or you're unemployed, or you're newly unemployed. We welcome everybody. And today we have an amazing guest. I'm so excited to have this conversation with her. I love her so much. She is an icon, I must say, in the New York storytelling scene. An amazing storyteller. She has won the Moth Story Slam. That's 7 times. 7 times. That's insane. I've never even been picked. She also had a one-woman show at Joe's Pub called The Shit Show. And she has a great documentary out called The Fable-ist, which it's winning a bunch of awards. Hopefully we'll all get to see it very soon. And when it's not a pandemic, she's the co-host of Taboo Tales. But guess what? I think for the next hour, I think she's a little unemployed because she's here to hang out with us. So give it up for Sandi Marx. Hi.
Yay! I'm so glad to be here. Thank you for having me.
I'm so happy to have you. The crowd goes wild.
Yay! Yay!
So how are you? Where are you? She used to be my neighbor. You were in Greenpoint.
I was in Greenpoint for 2 years, and now we have all left New York City for the beach, and we've spent the last 5 months in Southampton, where we have a house, and we are basically raising dogs, cats, children. I have a grandchild here. I have partners of all my children. My cat, Tanya Harding. We're all here. We're all here.
You have a cat, Tanya Harding?
Yeah, Tanya Harding. She's my cat. Yeah, she has Tanya's personality, so she runs the house. So yeah, so it's been 5 months of like a lot of mop and glow and what do you want for dinner and going to CVS, and it's been exciting. I got to say, it's not easy, but we're getting through it.
You're a very good mom. That is, you know, when the pandemic started, my parents, they live in an apartment and they were like, hey, we're hearing about all these kids coming home and, you know, leaving their city life. Our door is locked. Do not bring COVID here.
Well, I hear it.
Closed.
I understand it, but it's actually, because I'm a new grandma, it's been amazing. So I would be lying if I said it's difficult. It's not. It's actually great. And I like it. You know, the bar is really low for having an organized household. You know, it's a mess, but I don't care. You know, it brings back all the memories of what it's like to have kids. I love it. So, it's
nice.
Actually been a lot of fun. And it also makes me feel like I have a job because I haven't worked in so fucking long. That this is like, it's like, it feels like, oh, I have something to do. I have to go buy milk, you know, because when it's just Keith and I, my husband, you know, we're just kind of, we spent a year just watching everything on television that on every, like, new Netflix, Hulu.
Right.
We went through the entire, went through the entire thing, ran out. We're all done. Yeah. So I'm not going to exercise, for God's sake. So that's not happening. The one time I did exercise, I went outside in Greenpoint after my one time on a Peloton, and I got into a car accident, and I decided that it was a bad omen. I shouldn't exercise anymore.
Oh my God.
Yeah. I was run over by an Uber cab.
That was after your first time exercising on a Peloton?
Yes. The first time I got on a Peloton and I was feeling like I'm all jacked up and now I need to buy leggings. And I went outside. I was like, whoop-de-doop-de-doop.
That was when you broke your leg? I remember this.
My foot was crushed by a taxi cab. Yeah, I went flying in the air. Yeah, and I decided that's a sign I'm not supposed to exercise anymore. So that's it. I haven't exercised since.
You know what? God bless.
I'm safe.
It's a silver lining. I think a lot of people are looking for that excuse to not exercise. You got it handed to you, you know?
Not going to exercise. It's overrated. It's overrated. The only exercise I need is using a shopping cart at Stop and Shop. That's it.
Got it. I love it. Well, your life sounds amazing right now. Ellen and I are moving in. I think we should go to I want to come to the Hamptons.
You can come anytime.
I'm actually going to be there soon. I have a wedding in Southampton. We're staying in Southampton in a couple weeks. I'll text you about it afterwards.
You text me, you'll come visit me.
Yeah. We're going for 2 nights, I think. And my parents are like, you're not invited Friday night. And so we're like, so what do we do? We just go out to dinner on our own? They're like, I guess. Find plans. Like,
yeah, well, there's lots of places to go. We will discuss.
Oh, I know.
Or you can come here. I'll feed you.
It's a scene sometimes.
It's a scene. Yeah. We don't take part in the scene because I'm too cheap to go to restaurants because the restaurants out here are so expensive. So we just cook every night.
Some
and I get angry at those restaurants.
The ones in the city, though. Like they have there's Hamptons version, but it's like fancier. Right. And I'm like, it's not they're fancy in the city.
They're not fancy out here either. either. And I'm not really into seeing waitresses at $40 a plate, like for a piece of chicken wearing white tennis shoes. I'm sorry. Dress up. I'm not interested. It's not for me. I don't like it. So no, it's all right. We stay home. But
it was also a pandemic. I still feel weird going to a restaurant. So yeah, it's totally fine.
Yeah, we're still in it.
All right. So you're working now for the family. You have been very busy, it sounds like.
It's like, did you ever watch Big Love on HBO?
Yeah.
I'm like the head of the Sister Wives. I'm basically I'm not kneading the bread, but I'm basically making sure the French toast is being served.
She's running the household.
And I'm changing my pinafore every day. Yeah, it's great. I'm keeping the household going. Yeah, it's fine.
I love it. I love it so much. But you were always, I've known you for years, and you're just always so fun, and you have the best stories. And I'm very excited that you're on here to talk to us about, because I didn't know your life before you were in comedy. I didn't realize.
Well, I have an interesting past. Oh, I've had a big life. And I was a talent agent for 20 years.
Wild. For comedy? For like
I represented celebrities and regular New York actors for commercials and voiceovers. For 20 years. I had an agency, my own agency with partners called SEM&M for a long time.
I wish you were my agent.
We were hot shots back then in the day. Yeah.
You smoke cigarettes. You're like, I got the client for you, honey.
Yeah, I was in tarotins and I had my feet up on the desk and As a matter of fact, our mutual friend Sharon Spell has a little. She did a little pilot, a comedy pilot, and I played the casting director in it.
Oh no way!
Typecasting. Yeah. So I still stay in touch with a lot of actors that I represented, so it's a lot of fun.
That's cool. Yeah. So I want to take it back even further before then. Right. I like to know, where did you grow up and what was like the first job that you had that you. All
right. Well, I grew up in Queens, in New York, in Forest Hills, which is not, it's okay. It's nice. Mm-hmm. It's fine. And my first job, I was in high school. I think I was probably like 16. And I worked at a place called the Gordian Knot, which was a jean store that specialized in Jordache and Jordache jeans, and they came with like matching jackets or vests. They were hip huggers. It was a big deal, Jordache, back in the day. And the other brand was Sassoon, believe it or not. These were the two big brands. So my job, because I was too young to like work behind a register really, so I was the one who would chalk the hemline on the jeans.
Okay.
So people would try on their jeans and then they would need them hemmed.
Right.
So I had like tailor chalk. I didn't know what the hell I was doing. And I'm like very lazy and probably nearsighted. So I know I never got it right. And every time they'd come pick up their hemmed jeans, I would like hide in the back because I knew it would be the wrong.
They're trying them on. One leg's like shorter
than
the other.
And I would say, well, you might have one leg longer than the other. Meanwhile, I was measuring both legs, but that was my first job. And it was fine. And it probably paid like $4 an hour because I'm old. So back then the minimum wage was like $4 an hour probably. And then I worked like 3 other jobs at the same time, like at the drugstore. I was the cashier. And my parents owned a toy store called Toy Town when I was a kid. And I worked at the cash register. Christmas time, I would badly wrap all the presents because none of it was good.
That's fun. So, your parents had a toy store though. Like that was the family biz.
But it was only for like a couple of years, and then they went bankrupt and they lost the store. And I came home from one day from high school. I was like went to work, and it was like on this main boulevard in Forest Hills, and there was one of those like Marshall's padlock on the door with a notice saying, like it should have said your parents fucked up and the store is closed.
Oh no,
that's what it should have said. But I was so embarrassed. I was 17 years old, and all my friends walked by the store.
Oh,
it's horrifying. So anyway, it was a short-lived career with G.I. Joe and all the silly putty shit that was going on. But it was okay.
Did you ever learn to wrap a present properly?
Now I'm really good at it. If you ever need anything done, I know how to like do the whole thing. Yeah.
Cool.
I can fold in my seams and I
don't know how. I've never given my boyfriend a present wrapped in his life, and he does a perfect job when he gives me something, and I'm just like,
does he really?
Here's
give him like a shopping bag? Yeah, right. And I put a ribbon now, and I think if I take a scissor with the ribbon and I just like make it into like curls. Here's your present.
Wow.
Yeah, it was never really good. So those were basically my first high school jobs. And then when I went to school, I didn't really work in school because I went away to school in Florida, and I for some crazy reason, I know it was a mistake. I was on a full scholarship. I think they just needed like 1 or 2 Jews down in Tampa, Florida, which is where I went to school. So I was like the token
Florida's
Jew.
Like, we need a couple Jews. Now Florida's like, get them out.
Well, this was in Tampa. This was Tampa.
Okay, Tampa's different, but still.
Not very Jewish town. And they were just starting a big theater department, and I wanted to be an actress. So they gave me a full scholarship, and my housing cost practically nothing. So I didn't really have to work because I thought I was going to have to pay for school. So I'd saved all my working at the jean store money. It was so not Jewish there. I swear, one of the students, I'm not making this up, he one day asked if he could see my horns. My horns, because I'm a Jew. He said, "Can I see your horns?" I was like, "Excuse me?" His mother told him that Jewish people had horns.
No.
So anyway, I didn't stay there. I transferred. I went to NYU. I didn't stay there. And then I went to the drama department at NYU, which was
you did?
exceedingly better. Yes, I did.
Wow. I didn't know you were an NYU.
So,
no, you were an NYU alum. Wow.
Well, I never graduated. I didn't graduate. Yeah.
You didn't graduate?
I ran out of money. And I wasn't, like, I couldn't waitress or anything because I'm clumsy and lazy. It's not a combination for waitressing. Like,
no,
you can't. You can't do it. I would have been like whining and moaning and dropping. So I would have been paying for dry cleaning. And so I took this other route, which I started to tell you a little earlier, is trade shows. Now, I don't know if you know what that is, but in the olden days, to advertise products before the internet, we had trade shows.
Right.
And it was usually like C- women who weren't pretty enough to model, and they weren't talented enough to get hired like in a Broadway show. And they worked for, there was an agency that I worked for, and it was like they were my pimp basically. And they would send me on jobs that paid pretty well to basically like the shoe show, and there's like a toy show and a car show and a boat show. And the job of me or all the other women they hired was to stand there in front of a boat
and
or
like
a
present
car
it?
And present it, okay? But I wasn't really like tall or pretty enough to present boats. So I had the smaller shows like the toy show where I would go to the toy district downtown in the Flatiron district, and I have to demonstrate one toy for like 9 hours in a row. It was for 10 days in a row.
Did you like know the other? Were you guys like were talking to the other girls and stuff?
Yeah,
like,
there was a core.
Yeah,
there was a core, but like some of the jobs were a little unsavory. Like the toy show was fine. I was also a shoe model because I wear a size 5.5 shoe, so I have really hideous feet. So I couldn't model my toes, but
no way.
I could model my feet in shoes. So I would go to the shoe show, which back then there was no Javits Center. It was way before the Javits Center. It was at the New York Coliseum, okay, which was where like that shopping center is on 59th Street in Columbus Circle.
Oh, yeah.
So all the shoe buyers from all over the country would come in for this 1 week for the shoe show, like Bloomingdale's and Macy's. And I always got hired by like the cheapest shoe company. Like Steve Madden would be fancy compared to these shoes. So they were made out of like pleather or plastic. And they were like, FMPs, those high-heeled fuck-me pumps, they're called. You know what I'm talking about. So
high-heeled fuck-me pumps?
They're called FMPs.
I didn't know
You didn't know that?
No.
FMPs,
Ellen, do you know that?
Pumps.
FMPs. Nope.
So I had to
FMPs.
So I had to put on the FMPs, and then you have to walk around and show the buyers the shoes back then. That's how they would exhibit the shoes. And you do that for like 8 hours in a row.
Oh my God.
And you go home.
Like, they can't see my feet without shoes on, but they were like, oh, you got to see this girl in a shoe.
You got to see that ankle. And I would go home. My feet were like bloody stumps by the time I go home. 8 hours in a shoe. And it was
a cheap shoe too.
Cheap shoe. But it was a lot of money. It was like $10 an hour. That was a lot of money back then.
Yeah.
So I did all those shows. And then the worst one of those was the bike show. But they didn't tell me till the last minute that it was a bike that was made of these components that I had to demonstrate taking the entire bike apart.
Like
and
a bicycle?
Put a bicycle. And then I had to put the entire bicycle back together. But nobody taught me how to do it they just like, oh, oops, we forgot to show you. So all these businessmen, like a lot of Japanese companies would come again to the Coliseum to see this bike with all the components. And I was just standing there with like a pile of like wheels and nuts and brake wires and shit. And I had to figure out, I was like holding, I didn't know what to do with any of them.
Oh my God.
I think I got fired from that one. I think
it's
I
like
lasted.
a Lucille Ball episode of her being like,
yes.
together. Like,
okay. It was a disaster, but then I didn't really. Then they sent me on this one job, the World Trade Center. Obviously, I'm old. I had to dress as Wonder Woman. Why? I don't know. It was for a business machine company. Dress as Wonder Woman, stand at the top of the escalator at the World Trade Center that comes up from the subway. Okay, if you can picture that, they would have like an esplanade, and it goes down to the subway and.
Yeah.
And I'd have to stand there fully dressed like Wonder Woman and hand out flyers like some cheap, like hussy with a whole outfit. I had on like plastic boots and a bustier thing. And it was horrifying. I was so embarrassed. I would see people I knew that I grew up with going to work, coming up that escalator. Well, and the boss, this guy, he would like slap me on the ass and say, "Move your ass, honey." Because in the old days, you can do that. Nobody would get in trouble.
No.
So it was basically what I realized many, many years later. I didn't know it then, but I was basically being pimped out by like an agency that probably also did escort services.
Oh, God.
It was like all these girls that were kind of attractive, but not really pretty and didn't look too cheap. Like we looked like we were okay. Like we weren't like butterfaces, but we weren't great. And they would send us out on the field to go do all these jobs. I even got sent to St. Thomas down in the islands with a guy who was promoting a new hotel for a travel show.
What?
And I kept saying, why do I need to go down to St. Thomas with him? And it wasn't until like a year later that I realized he was just trying to have sex with me in St. Thomas. They sent me. I flew first class with him.
Oh, my God.
He looked like Jeffrey Epstein, I swear. He really did. He owned this hotel. I went with him. He said, I really want you to see the hotel before we send you off to the travel show.
What?
Which seemed awfully generous and crazy. And then I realized when I got down there, he just wanted to have sex with me. So I would like double bolt the door every night. He'd knock on the door. Want to go out for dinner? Let's go to the casino. And I'd say, no, I'm really tired. And he probably wanted to kill me because he thought I was, I was so naive. I was so stupid. Yeah, I was like 20 years old. I'm
glad you were so naive though. And you weren't like, sure, let me open the door and go to dinner. Like you weren't that naive. You knew something wasn't right here.
It just didn't feel right. And he scared me. He was too old. Like I was like 20, he was like 40. It wasn't. Anyway, so I went through all that. Yeah, it was not that. So that was my first like high paying in my world gig was being.
It's funny you say that though, when you describe all of these jobs, like that's kind of like on the level of all the jobs that the comedians do when they're like new at UCB, and UCB's like, we got a gig for you. You're going to be a spokesman for like whatever this is. You're going to stand outside and hold a sign and be silly. You're an improviser. You're funny.
Oh, that sounds cheesy.
They're cheesy jobs. Yeah. Or like the girls we had someone on the podcast who flyered in Times Square, or like where they hold the fly, like the Chicago girls. You've seen them in Times Square where they're like in the full costume. Have you seen these girls? Like they wear the full outfits like they're in Chicago the musical.
And they're not in the show?
No, they're just handing out the flare, like in the red and black outfits, and they're handing out the flyers to go see Chicago the musical. All the shows have like the flyer girls in Times Square, which
it's the same idea. So did you ever do that?
No, I didn't do that. But I've done some weird gigs like that where I'm, I remember, Ellen, I did the condom company. Oh, God, that was the worst thing ever.
What did you have to do?
Oh, my God. And I had to hand out, they told me I was going to host this event. No, they handed me a basket full of condoms for Trojan, I should say. Trojan, you owe me lots more money than I made. And they were just like, oh, yeah, like the tech isn't working. Like something was not happening. And so I had to literally hand out condoms to people for like a weekend. And I was like,
oh, my God.
I lost my mind.
That's awful. Yeah, that's pretty bad.
But, you do it. I imagine you were like, well, I want to be a performer.
That's
this
right.
is somewhat performance-y.
Right. And you would start out like whenever you knew what the new gig was, like the shoe job or the bike job or whatever, and you were like a bright shiny penny that first day. So you go there with high hopes. Maybe this will be the last time I have to do it. Maybe I'll meet somebody interesting there that can help me do something better. Maybe I get to keep, because they always let me keep those outfits. Yeah. So I was getting free clothes,
That's cool.
So I thought, this is better. To me, it was better than waiting tables because I knew I wasn't going to be good at that. And plus, I didn't really want to work nights because I was still living at home. And it's really hard to imagine like living in Queens and having to commute to the city for a job, working in a restaurant and coming home at 2:00 in the morning. It didn't seem like that was going to happen. So, but then by the third day of this like 2-week stint doing the toy show, you're ready to throw yourself off the Flatiron building because you cannot believe you have to do this. Ugh. I did this one game. It was called Swat the Mosquito. And my job for 2 whole weeks was standing with this plastic toy and swatting this buzzing noise. And the object of the game was to get the buzz to stop making noise.
Wow.
And they don't let you, you can't stop because the boss would come around and say, you're not swatting. You've got to get back to the swatting.
Oh, no.
I forgot. I also used to have to spray people with perfume in department stores. Did you ever do that?
No. This was part of the agency sent you to do this job?
Oh, my God. You never had to do that. Oh, okay. So a lot of people used to do this in the olden days. Haven't you been in a department store where there's... Yeah, well, there was an agency for that, and they would send you to like Saks Fifth Avenue, and they would pay pretty well, and you weren't allowed to stand still with the perfume. I don't know if you've noticed that. Everybody has to sashay and move. You have to move around. You can't just stand there with your bottle. And they would see you standing, and they'd say, "Keep moving, keep moving." So you're like moseying around, and the only time it was fun was once I got to do Poison. Did you know that perfume, Poison?
Yeah.
I think it's Christian Dior or something, or Oscar de la Renta.
It's like an old famous one.
Yeah, and I was like, I'm a comedian. I'm gonna make a meal out of this. So I would walk around and I would find like a dude, and I'd say, "How about some poison for your mom?" Or I would find like a woman and say, "Doesn't your sister need some poison?" And nobody found this amusing, even in the least bit. I thought it was hilarious. Nobody. People were so mean. Don't be mean to people who spray perfume. People are so mean to perfume sprayers. People used to tell me to drop dead, go hang myself.
No.
They said it's just perfume. People would be so mean. They would just say, "Get out of my face,"
Oh, God. I always try to be nice, especially to like people on the street who are like, "Do you have a minute? Do you like animals? Do you have a minute?" And I'm like, "Yes. I love animals. I don't have a minute, but
that's right.
Thank you for your work."
Yeah. I mean, it's soul crushing work. Ugh. Standing around at the lobby in Bloomingdale's, holding a spray. And now I'm allergic to all perfumes. So I did that all back then. I think now I would just be like lying prone and like crying in a corner.
Maybe that's why.
Maybe my body just is completely saying.
Yeah,
repelled.
Too much of it.
Too much perfume. Yeah.
Oh, God.
So that was my hostessing career in doing the trade shows. So that was.
How long did you do this for?
Too long. I did it way too long because the pay was so good. But it was seasonal because February was toy show. I think March might have been car. April might have been boat. Like every month had a different show, you know. And then there was the shoe show, and then some of them were twice a year. So you could make a meal out of it. You could get like 6-7 months work out of doing these shows. And it was always really well paying. Even that job where the guy wanted to have sex with me in the Virgin Islands or St. Thomas or where we were. I mean, I didn't have to have sex with him, but I still got a lot of money for that job and a suntan. So it was, it worked out.
It paid off. Yeah,
it paid off. And I did that all through. I did it like 2 years after college. And then I decided I need to be more creative. So I ended that part of my career. And I still wasn't getting work as an actress. Okay. Because I wasn't really that talented. But I just was pretending I was
What
really
did you
talented.
want to do? Like, were you wanting to do
I was
theater
a musical.
Or film
I was a musical person. Like, I auditioned for shows like Chorus Line and those kind of shows. So, I mean, I almost got a Chorus Line. I didn't, but I almost got that show. So that's what my dream was to, because I knew this wasn't like a face for movies. It was more like, So
What?
yada 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 yada. So I was
I
a
don't know
dancer.
who was judging beauty. I think you're so hot, and I'm like,
Oh,
of course
you're
you'd
so
be in a
sweet.
chorus line. Why wouldn't you be? You know?
Yeah, I was animated. So then my next career was singing telegrams. Did you ever do that?
No, but I love it. I love this so much.
Oh God! So
I did one,
okay,
I'll tell you
That's-
afterwards my bit where I was hired to do some kind of telegram, but it wasn't singing. But like birthdays, you did. And
okay. So this was a hard job, and people don't realize this. They think, oh, this is frivolous fun, but it's not. Whoever does that, like people like me. Again, there's a separate agency at the time. Because they would have ads like in the back of New York Magazine. Because again, this is before anyone said happy birthday to you on Facebook. You had to say happy birthday, right? So say it with a song. And what you had to do was you were given the person like a dossier. So you told the person's name, what the event was, and what music they like. And then it was my job to create the song. So you take a popular song and put words to it that made sense you had to write a song.
Oh, you had to create the songs?
Yes.
Wow.
Then you you go to their costume shop and they would tell you a list of characters that they preferred. Like, I would do, Cinderella. I did, I think I did, what was it? Oh, I was a Playboy bunny at Bank Leumi. I had to go into a boardroom at Bank Leumi. It's like an Israeli bank. Midtown Manhattan, dressed like a Playboy bunny.
No.
Yes, and there was like 20 men, dudes only, back in the 80s, all dudes. And I had to sing a song to the birthday boy, dressed like a bunny, with this ridiculous costume and my tail. And my ears on, and the receptionist, you could see she was looking at me like, white trash. You were such white trash. And I had to go in there and I had to do it. But the worst was when I had to be Miss Piggy, which was the most popular request.
Miss Piggy?
Miss fucking Piggy. And again, I had to write the music. I had to wear the costume, which was so hot. And then I had to show up.
You wore like a head? Like you were?
I had a head, a big head with snout. I had a ball gown. I had to wear a mink stole. I had like pearls, like Barbara Bush pearls, opera gloves, the whole 9 yards, the hair, the blonde, everything. I had the whole thing, a little tiara. And then, also I had to record this on a cassette. We used cassette recorders. So I had to record it because you give it to the celebrant and a bottle of champagne. So I would be going all around town dressed like this. And the most amazing thing happened, the most horrible thing happened. One of the nights I had to do it, it was a 30th wedding anniversary. And it was in this restaurant in Chelsea. I think it was called the Chelsea Inn or Chelsea House, or super popular restaurant back in the 80s. And it was like the first really popular gay bar in the neighborhood, I think. But it was also a really good restaurant. They also sold furniture in there like ABC Antiques does. Have you ever been to ABC, that restaurant?
Yeah,
they sell furniture in there. Well, they
ABC
sold
Kitchen.
Yeah, same idea. So they started it. They sold furniture and they would feed people. And I think they probably thought, well, if we can't move the veal piccata, you'll buy an armoire or something. Like, I don't know what they were thinking. So they had all this stuff going on. So I was sent there. I prepared the song. I don't remember what it was. I had the champagne. I had the cassette ready to go, all to make like $75. I get there. It's so crowded. It's a Friday night. It's packed.
And you're in this whole costume.
I have a head on with a snap and a fur and pearls. Not one person in the bar. It's a totally gay bar. Not one person in the bar, not one person in the restaurant, including the hostess, even noticed me. I was completely ignored. I'm like, a pig is standing in front of you, a famous pig, and you're not even like giving me props. Nothing. There was nothing. Gets worse. So finally I get the attention of the hostess, who's like this real snooty patoot. You know how a lot of the hostesses are. They're like really like, and she's still not judging me in a way she should be because I'm dressed like a pig. And I give her the name like the Kaplans or whatever. And she said, oh, they left a half hour ago. It was too noisy.
What?
Before cell phones. I said, well, did they leave a forwarding? Because one of the people in that couple ordered this singing telegram.
Right.
I said, well, did they leave a forwarding address? No. I was a pig in a bar, stood up.
Walking around.
My job. I didn't get paid. I'm still a pig. And I'm now stuck in this bar. That was the last time I sang telegrams. That was it. I was done. I hung up the mink and the pearls. I said, that's it. I can't do it. I can't.
My God. And also, it's funny to even imagine it without a cell phone. I'm like, yeah, of course they didn't. What are they going to say? Hey, we're not going here, but we're going to go to this restaurant. In case someone shows up, let them know. Like, oh my God.
So bad.
Did you have to buy these costumes or did you like?
No, it was you would have loved it. It was so good. They had this big closet. If you're into like cosplay you'd go in there and it would be like, you could hear angels singing in the back because it was so exciting. There was every possible costume. They smelled, but there was every costume because, like the people who sang, we didn't wash them. We just hung them back up. And then the next pig would come in or the next Wonder Woman or the next, Wonder Woman was very popular back then. Playboy bunnies, anything that sexualized girls. Like, it was gross.
Including Miss Piggy.
Miss Piggy. And I did a lot of kids' parties. Usually I was Miss Piggy at kids' parties, which was a whole other thing because kids all want to sit on you. Like, so it's terrible.
This
terrible.
was before you had kids. This was
way before. I was like a baby. I was in my early 20s. It was terrible. And then while I'm doing this, like anybody else who wants to be an actor or a dancer, I was auditioning for all kinds of stuff. So, and I kept thinking every audition, this is the last time I'm ever going to have to sing a telegram or like sashay in a pair of shoes in front of dirty old men because I'm going to get a show. I'm going to get a show. And I got super close, which was when I auditioned for a chorus line for the role of Morales. I know you know that role, right?
Yes.
Even though I'm a little white Jewish girl, I almost booked it. And I was there the entire day. And you know how that process works. They keep cutting. There the entire day. It was the second replacement cast or something. So, I think Priscilla Lopez was just leaving the show or maybe somebody. And they said, okay, now you have to sing What I Did for Love, which is the big song, in the key of C. And they give me the sheet music and I go up to piano. And what I hadn't mentioned, because you know this, is that I can't sing. I'm just not a singer, can't sing. I mean, I can like fake it, like if I'm belting out a tune, but the key of C in that song, if you're musical,
hard.
It's very hard. And they said, that's how Marvel and Hamlish wrote it. And that's how you have to sing it.
Wow.
And I knew at that point I was cooked. Like I was like, that when you get the flop sweats, like the smile, you're like, you're like, you're done. And I walked up to the piano and I'm thinking like, well, you fake it till you make it. And I got up there and I like just started like, Kiss Today. And Michael Bennett was alive. He was there.
Oh,
he was auditioning me. And I said, Kiss Today. And he said, thank you. And that was it. That was the end of it. I was done. And he said, I swear to God, 2 words, thank you. And I swear to God, he said, you know what? You're not right for this. Because he was so kind. He said, but I'm doing another show that I'm casting. And you should come and audition for that. And it was Dreamgirls. And I didn't know that was a completely black cast until I got to the audition.
What?
And I sat in the locker room of the basement of the theater with like Sheryl Lee Ralph and all the other people who went on to get the jobs. And I'm like, what the hell? Obviously, I didn't get it. And so that was it.
Why did he tell you to come to it?
It's like, you know what it's like? It's like you go out with a guy once and you don't like them.
Right.
And you say, call me. It was the equivalent of we
should have lunch. We should hang out.
Let's try to do this again. It was the equivalent of let's try to do this again. He should have just said, it was lovely meeting you. Go take voice lessons.
Oh, my God.
And that's it.
Hilarious.
That was my last acting audition. That was it.
For anything.
For anything. I decided I need to get a job. So that was the end of my acting career. And then that's when I went and got my first job, real job.
I commend you because a lot of people stick where they think, oh, well, maybe he'll direct another musical and I'll be first in line for that audition. Like you were just like,
no, I was always I think I was very self-actualized even as I knew I was kind of mediocre. Like you have to know your value. Like I know I'm a people person and I'm a good salesperson.
Okay.
And like I'm smart, but I'm not that talented. Like to do that, you have to be really talented.
You really do.
Do you know how many?
I came here to do musical theater. Did you know that? I moved here.
But you're a good singer.
Well, I sing, but I can't dance. And that was where I failed for these Broadway callback. Like same thing. They called me in and they were like, great, we heard you sing. We saw you act. And now do the dance combination. And I would panic. I can do it if I really like take the time and someone really, you don't have time to learn those combinations.
Did you audition for any big shows?
Oh, yeah, I did a couple of them. I remember I got a big callback, which I was so excited for the revival of Hair on Broadway. And I got a big callback and I was like, oh my God, I got a callback, and I was freaking out. And then I told my friend, I was like, I'm going in. And she was like, how did my agent not send me in for this? And she had already done like tours of shows. I had done regional theater, and she booked it. She ended up getting it. And I was like, I told her, I love her.
Now, what's the lesson in that? What's the lesson in that? You never tell your friends. That's the lesson in that.
I hate that when people are like secretive about like auditions they have and everything. Like, I don't know. I'm not like that. I'm like, yeah, I'm going in for this. Can you believe it? So weird. Yeah. But no, she ended up booking it and then doing the show on Broadway in London, all these places. And I love her to death. And she still does theater. And I went into comedy. No, I stopped auditioning for theater. I had a really bad experience. This manager who like wanted to rep me, who wasn't even, red flag number one was they weren't even in New York City. They were like not in the city. They were somewhere outside of the city. I forget the town, somewhere in Westchester. I don't know. And my friend was like, you got to meet them. They're repping me now. And they got me a couple of good auditions, but then they were like, they got me an audition for Chicago on Broadway. And that was like, beyond.
Oh, that's great.
It was embarrassing because it was a dance call, and these beautiful dancers were on Broadway.
Yeah, that's a dance show.
You know, and they all were like older too, and they had been in a billion shows, and they were, you know, I was like completely. They didn't even have to like sing to be in Chicago. You know what I mean? They do, but not. Right. And I get there and I was like, they literally were like, are you in the right place? Like I didn't have the clothing. I didn't have the shoes. I was super. And I was like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm going to do comedy. I was like, I can't.
I don't blame you. Yeah. It's soul sucking. You know, I got to the point where I just didn't think that my psyche could take any more rejection. Like, because if I really believed enough in myself, in my skill set at that time to do the things that I wanted to do, then yeah, maybe I would have persevered. But I knew that I would probably do better doing something else. Like I knew I'd have to find what that was. And I was really happy that I made that choice, because my next job and / became my career was being a talent agent. And that's really what I should have been doing. It's like I got to still be with actors. I got to still appreciate acting and going to shows every night. Only now I could be the bossy bitch and, you know, and be the one to say yes or no and not wait for the phone to ring and to worry about, like, you know, back in those days we had answering machines and we had actual telephones with call waiting. So you didn't have texts or, you know, you had to talk to people and find out that they didn't like you. It was horrible. So I liked being on the other side of it. It really
I bet.
Great shift. Yeah.
So how did you do that? Were you just like...
Well, what happened was I was taking a lot of dance classes because I was a dancer. And one of my buddies in the dance world, you're going to laugh when I tell you who it was, but do you know who Peter Weller is? He was Robocop. Did you ever see the movie Robocop?
I know who that is. Yeah.
Yeah. So Robocop was in my dance class, and he was really starting to do really well. He was very like young and successful and very hot. He was like super hot. And one day in class, he said, Sandi, I want you to meet my agent. And he thought that I was like sexy or something, and he thought that I had talent. But he said that I think you have people skills, and I want you to meet my agent because I think you'd make a really good agent. And I thought, well, if Robocop's telling me to go, you know, maybe it's a good plan. So I met his agent, and he had this really big agency at the time, J. Michael Bloom, who's like a really big agency. And I went and I met a lot of people there, and I got hired. And the job wasn't easy, believe me.
You got hired just to be an agent.
To be an assistant at an agency.
Okay. So I was an assistant. Now it's like, you know, if anyone
it was like that then. It was like that.
Like I'm like, they put you in the mailroom and for months and you're like.
Well, my daughter's in the same business, and she was in the mailroom at ICM for a year. So
a year. I had a lot of friends who graduated college and then they're like, yeah, I work in the mailroom now, you know.
Yeah,
and I was
it's a big deal. It's hard to get a mailroom job. It's a big deal.
Crazy.
But I was an assistant, and I worked for this woman. I mean, the job wasn't all like peaches and cream, because my boss used to send me out to buy her drugs every day. Okay. Because that's the way it was back then. It was like a Coke fueled environment. So she would tell me, go to the ATM. Here's my code. Take out $80. then go meet like Manuel up on 94th in Amsterdam.
Oh my God.
You know, or whomever, David, I don't know who it was. I'd have to go up to 90, and I couldn't say no. She was my boss. I said yes to everything. It was like, how high can you jump? And I would go get her drugs, and then I would bring them back. Then she opened her drawer, and she would do lines in the drawer. So if the boss came in, she would close the drawer.
Whoa.
And she would say,
Hardcore.
Sweetie, hold the door. Stand in front of the door. That is my job. I was like guarding the door while she was doing drugs in the office. So it was crazy back then.
Wow. Yeah, you go home. It's like, what'd you do today? I bought drugs and watched someone
I scored some Coke. I scored Coke for my boss, and I held the door for her. Yeah, and then I would go into the men's room because it was closer to my office and cry because someone would be yelling at me, like an actor or my boss, because it was hard. But I did it. I persevered. I stayed as an assistant for a really long time until I finally got promoted. And then I left that agency with 3 other work associates, and we opened up our own agency, and we took every client out of that agency. 1,000 actors in the middle of the night.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it was like a big story. We set ourselves up. We went and got a space. We had a staff. We had computers. We did the whole thing.
And you did this all behind the scenes while you were working for this other agency.
Yes. And then in the 19th hour, it was New Year's Eve. That's the last day I worked at this agency on New Year's Eve. We all left our office keys in our desk drawers. And we didn't tell anyone on the staff because then you could get sued for like stealing employees. So the 4 of us just left like in the middle of the night practically. And we opened up the next day 2 blocks away in our own office. It was like, did you ever see Jerry Maguire?
Yeah.
Like that. We like hit the phones. And we got everyone to come over and come with our agency, and they all stayed. Because our boss was like absentee. He was never really there. You know, he got what he deserved.
And he was making the most money. I assume you all had a cut of
he
what
was making a fortune, and we were all, you know, I'm busy, you know, scoring drugs for my boss. It was time. So it was the best decision I ever made, and it took a long time to get there. But then we had a really good business with 60 employees, and we ran it for a really long time. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it was really good. I mean, everything gets hard after a while, and you want to kill yourself doing any job. Believe me, you know, no matter how good your job is, there's always going to come the day when you're like, I can't do this one more day. But for the time I did it, I really loved it. It was great.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So that was like my main career.
I was going to say, so you did commercials, you said, and voiceovers? I
did commercials and voiceovers. We represented people like James Earl Jones on Verizon, and Jason Alexander for potato chips, and Susan St. James, all these really cool people. They were all our clients. Nathan Lane, Faith Prince, all our clients. Yeah.
Big names.
Yeah. It was like a big agency. It was all the New York elite. It was a really good agency. I was very proud to be a partner at this agency. It was really cool. And I did that for a really long time. It was really fun. And I'm glad I don't do it anymore because it's hard. But you know, the crazy things that would happen there, it's like you can't even imagine. But it was great. It was fun. Like Wesley Snipes. We repped him before he became famous, and he used to work for New York Telephone. And before he became Verizon, he was a repairman. He would be a phone repairman, and he would come to our office because he went to massage therapy school, and he would give us back rubs in our offices. Wesley Snipes was rubbing our.
Yes. That's amazing.
And then he would send
big star.
Yes. And then when he became a big star, he would send us all these women that he would meet in restaurants. Like every hostess at every restaurant would show up in our office. Wesley Snipes sent me.
Oh, that's nice. He referred people.
Always. And there were always beautiful women, always.
That's funny. I'm curious though, as an agent, how do you want to get clients? Because I feel like I interview a lot of actors and stuff, and people who are in all different stages of their rep life. Like,
well, first, I mean, back in those days, we really did read resumes. We really did want to see what people had done. And we used to like to see them coming out of reputable schools, you know, like Yale Drama, whatever. We loved that. Carnegie Mellon, NYU. And then we would go to showcases every single night. So we really did go every night to see some. And I covered comedy, which is kind of funny now that I think about it. So I would go like 3 nights a week to all the comedy clubs. Back then it was Catch, Improv, and maybe 1 or 2 others, but there weren't a lot of good ones. And I would go, and we would, like Maxwell House Coffee once was doing a whole campaign. They wanted to stand up. And I'll never forget, I think it was at the Improv, they set up a lineup for me, like to go see. And Adam Sandler was in that lineup.
Whoa.
And I made a note. I'll never forget this. I made a note on my like legal notepad, not funny. That was the note. He did not get the audition. But so I would get to go out. And I really, because I used to date comedians, I'd go see comedy. I always loved it so much. I was always way too nervous to do it myself, but I loved going and hanging out at the bar at the Improv.
I'm shocked you were nervous to do it. I guess you were turned off by the acting and the trade show, and you were just like,
I was just really,
I didn't more power on the other side.
I think so. And I didn't really have find my voice yet. Like I was much better at judging and evaluating other people than figuring out like how I could find my voice. Like I used to judge beauty pageants. I used to judge Miss New York, Miss New Jersey, Miss Teen New York. And I love that because I like judging people. It's terrible. It's not a good thing, but I liked it because maybe it felt like it took the pressure off of anyone who was judging me, or it was like payback for all those years where I felt ignored. I don't know what it was. I mean, I could work it out in therapy, but I loved it. I loved and I loved the girls. They were so adorable. I loved all of it. I liked mothering them and telling them to take out the colored contacts and just be themselves. You be you. I would be like, I would just giving them all like life lessons. Yes. Yeah. I didn't tell you this. I was a professional cheerleader. Did you know that?
No.
Yes. New York Cosmos, the soccer team.
You were a soccer cheerleader?
In Giant Stadium, which is now Meadowlands or whatever.
Well, you said you were a dancer, but...
Yes, Pele hired me. I was hired by Pele.
Oh, my God.
Yes, I had pom-poms, and I had a jacket with my name on it. Yeah, I still have the jacket. I wear it for Halloween sometimes.
That's so fun.
So pathetic. Yeah, my father would come to every game to watch.
Aww.
Yeah,
that's nice.
Like 60,000 fans in the stands, and then the cheerleaders. And we had to rehearse in New Jersey twice a week. $15 a game.
What?
That's what they pay cheerleaders.
Holy shit! In front of 60,000 people, and you're out there performing.
$15 a game. With the thing. And,
wow.
Yeah. So anyway, but that's all.
I love that.
Under the bridge. Yeah. Yeah. I had a lot of jobs.
You've had a lot of jobs. Wait, you told me another job when we were chatting before you came on the pod that you were someone's butt double. What?
Oh, yes. Oh my gosh.
And I was I have to know about that.
Okay, so this is definitely the penultimate story. So when I was still acting and still doing my thing, I MTV just started. Okay. I mean, MTV wasn't a thing before, I was in the dark ages. So MTV became a thing, and there was only 4 or 5 performers starting, and it was the original VJs. It was that really cute Jewish guy, Mark Goodman, and there was a couple of cute girls. That was it. That was MTV. And I got a call from a friend's friend saying, there's an emergency casting thing. We desperately need somebody, a dancer, for a Pat Benatar video. I didn't know. I barely knew who Pat Benatar was, really. She had just become something. And I said, oh my God, this is so exciting. They said, you have to show up at the director's apartment tomorrow morning. This is super important. You get there tomorrow morning. They have to shoot this next week. I was like, okay, director's apartment. Okay, fine. I said, well, what's the thing? I said, they said, okay, this is super important. Pat Benatar needs an ass double. And I said, an ass double, I'm all in. I am going to be Pat Benatar's ass double. I'm not sure I know who she is. I don't know if I have the qualifications, but this sounds like the dreamiest job ever. How hard could it be to be an ass double? So the next day I get the address. It's in the East Village. Now, East Village in 1982 or 83 or 81 or whatever, it was early 80s, was not like East Village now. I mean, East Village back then, it's like This Week in Afghanistan. Okay. No. Can you imagine? It was like at 6:00, all the metal gates come down. There's tent city. People are living in the streets. You can't walk without a fork as a weapon or something. It's really, really bad. But I don't care. I'm blinded by the light. I'm going to be Pat Benatar's ass double. So I go. It's a walk up. It's like a 4th floor walk up. And it had all those Chinese menus, like, do you ever go to those buildings with like the buzzers and you can't find the apartment because it's just menus?
Yeah.
It was like one of those buildings. You're like peeling away the menus. I walk up. As I'm walking up those stairs, I'm thinking, this is so stupid. I'm going to get killed. This is probably not even a real audition. This is probably like that scene in Fame where Irene Cara has to take down her bra strap or something. Like, I don't know what's going to happen. So I go and I open up. The guy opens up his door. He's the director of this video. And MTV back then had no budget. So when they shot videos, they were shooting them for like $200 or something. I don't know. He opens up the dirtiest little apartment with a tripod and a camera. And I'm like, oh, I'm going to be killed. This is going to be a snuff film or something. And he's so young. The director's like 18 or 19 years old. He looks like he's probably an NYU film student or something. But then he's like all business. And I could see, oh, no, he seems to be taking this seriously. And he starts playing me the song, which is Hit Me With Your Best Shot.
Yes.
Which is back then, it's for that video. And he goes, okay, this is the song. He says, but before I have you do what I need you to do, I need to measure your ass. So I said, you're going to measure my ass. He says, I'm going to measure your ass. And I'm thinking, okay, just go to a different, like go to your faraway place. Go to your happy place. Like, you know, like when you go to the gynecologist and when she says this is going to be really cold or something, and you go to that other place, okay? It was that moment where I was like, okay, and he takes out a tape measure and I'm like, okay, just don't think about it. And he measures my ass and he says, perfect. It's the right size. And I'm like, okay, thank God I got the right size ass. I don't know if it's a good thing, but it's the right size ass. He says, okay, now he says, I'm going to play the song, Hit Me With Your Best Shot. And what I need you to do is walk away. Walk away. I need to see your ass move because that's the whole job is like she's coming forward and I'm going to be going back because they couldn't afford to shoot long enough to have her do it both ways.
Okay.
So that's why they needed a different ass. But the apartment is so small that me walking, it's like I'm like a Roomba that gets stuck in the corner. Can you imagine? It's like that's how small the space is. So I walk like she's a real and that's like I'm done. I'm like at the wall. I'm like, you know, like when I'm like rubbing up against the wall. It was so horrifying. I got the job. Okay. So he says you're hired, and I'm beside myself. I'm so excited because I wanted to be in an MTV video, but I really did picture being like in a Whitesnake video, like lying on top of an old car or something, not like just my ass. That's the only thing that was going to show. So they, you know, told me the date and the call time and the whole thing. And it was all set up. It was like for 4 days later. They said they'd have a wardrobe. My hair was actually the same exact cut as her, just by coincidence. It was like a very short haircut. And then the next day, I don't even remember who it is, but I think it was an aunt. My mother's like sister-in-law died suddenly. She was like 80, suddenly dies. And my mother says, you have to go to the funeral. And the funeral was the exact same time as the shoot. And they were paying me $50. And my mom knew that. And she said, you were not doing that. You have to go to the And I called the director. I said, can you please push back the time? Is there a way? He said, no, either you come or you don't. I'll find another ass, basically.
Oh, no.
So I lost the job because he wouldn't change it. And I'm a Jew. I couldn't not go to this funeral. My mother would guilt me for the rest of my life. I go to the funeral. I spend the whole funeral like sitting by myself, like the girl in the ring, like with the hair in front of her face, crying. And everyone thought I was so upset that Aunt Margie died. I could care less. She was not well. She was never well. I was so upset that I lost my opportunity to be in one of the first most important videos ever on MTV, which is true. God. Because if you ever look at like the top 10 videos ever on MTV, that's always on the list.
Is it?
Always. It's like the most famous early video.
Oh my God.
And
I can't believe you had this whole intimate audition where they're like, let me measure your ass.
Yes. Let me
walk.
That little
let's see it move.
Peach of that ass. Yes.
What?
And I think that she used her own ass. I don't think they used anybody else's. I think they felt burned by my ass after that. And that was the end of it. But back then it was Chrysalis Records. I remember the label. They had no money to shoot videos. Like if you look at like archives of early MTV videos, they're all shot like in somebody's. Your videos are 100 times more professional. Like when you and Jared do those really hilarious videos,
thank you.
100 times more polished than the earliest videos on MTV.
I'm gonna have to watch this. Hit Me With Your Best Shot now.
Yes, you have to see it. It's like, oh. Anyway, and every time
it's your butt. I'm gonna pretend it's your butt.
Yes, you should. Yeah. And you know, it's like mall music, elevator music. So there are very many times when I'm like at, you know, like Stop and Shop, like looking for the vanilla yogurt, and I hear he's a real sad cookie man.
Oh, it comes on. It haunts you the rest of your life. You showed your mom that video. You were like, that could have been my butt, huh?
That's right. You see, Mom, this is what you took from me. You took everything from. Yeah. But these were all signs. I wasn't meant to do any of it. You know what? Now that I'm on the other side of things and I'm so much older. I mean, I'm 65, so I've been around. And as a 65-year-old, I can see like my trajectory. Everything happened at the right time. I never like to say anything like it's for a reason. Nothing's for a reason, but it all happened when it was supposed to happen. I went to the right school. I did the right job. All of it meant something at the time. It doesn't. You can't look back at like, what could I have done? I wasn't ready to do stand up or tell stories or do anything 30 years ago. I didn't have the confidence.
We always say things like, no matter what you do, it might not be the right job for you. We always talk about how it'll lead to something that you are meant to do. It'll give you the path to get somewhere else. Like, that's why it's like, you do the random job. You don't know who you're going to meet. You don't know who's going to go places, who's going to want to hire you for something else. Like you were saying, I met the right person and they introduced me.
But the most important thing is you have to be open to the possibility that things are not going to look the way you thought they were. And when like the next thing happens, you have to be open to that. You have to be ready to receive whatever it is out there, even though it doesn't look like something you thought, because that, like, you never know. Like, for instance, getting the film that's about me, it's a movie about me, was solely because one of my really good friends in the storytelling business, this girl who I adore, Dawn Frazier, she's a master storyteller. She said, would you do me a favor? I have a bunch of students at the Yard. She was teaching a class at the Yard a couple of years ago. And she said, I'd love for you to come in and just tell a story so they could see like a polished story and for someone who's already been doing it. And I didn't hesitate, right? I always live in the world of yes. I said, absolutely, yes. And one of the students was the director, who's already been a director. He's directed other things, but he wanted to take a storytelling class to get a better feel for it. And he came up to me after the class. He said, I'd love to stay in touch. I know this sounds crazy, but I'm thinking about, I would love to do a film about you. And I said, you don't know me? He said, I know, but I want to know you. And we started corresponding, and within weeks he had sketched out what he wanted to do. And 2 years later, it was in Cannes. I mean, it's crazy. Like, he did this thing and he made it happen. And if I hadn't said yes to Dawn to just do, and I work for free all the time for all these people, like on those kind of things, because it's good for me to practice, to learn something about myself, to meet new people, to perform. You know how it is now during the pandemic. We're all inside a lot. So opportunities might come up and you might do things you might not have done 2 years ago, just for keeping your chops up, just to meet people or whatever. And that's why I always tell people, just live in the world of yes. Just, if you're hesitating, but you can't really come up with a good reason not to do something, just do it. Do the thing, it works out. Everything always works out.
It's so good. It's so inspiring.
Yeah.
I love that. I had one more question for you, because I wanted to know, when did you make that move where you were like, I don't want to be an agent anymore. I feel comfortable becoming a performer, because you're so good. I only knew you.
There was another career in the middle. What happened was I got sick. My last year as an agent, I was raising my 3 kids, living in the suburbs. I was also going through a divorce at the time. So there was a lot going on, a lot of stress, and I got sick and I got lupus. And, it's an autoimmune thing and it's manageable. I manage it, but I got really sick and I knew I could no longer work full time and grind it and then go out every night. There was just no way I was going to do it. And I decided, I took stock and I thought, you know what? This is a good time to take a very graceful exit, like Seinfeld leaving the right season, because I felt like I've done it enough. I've done it 20 years. I feel like I've gotten everything out of it. And I'd rather be home with my 3 young kids. They were all really young at the time. And I was pretty sick. So I thought, this is great. And I did that. And I was lucky enough to be able to do that. So I took off the time. And then I got bored after a couple of years because I wasn't used to not doing, because I've been working since I'm a kid. And I became what's called the bag lady of Scarsdale, which is the suburb I was raising my family in Scarsdale. And what I did was what's now super popular at like Real. I was selling like slightly used Chanel bags and Hermes Birkin bags. I was like the Jewish Robin Hood of Scarsdale. I would take a bag from a very rich woman who wanted to sell it. I would take it and then I would sell it to an upper middle class woman who couldn't afford it normally. So I kept moving. So all the women in the neighborhood were carrying each other's bags that I was reselling. I was the real. I was the original Real. I was doing that years ago, and I did really well doing it, and it got too big because there were women in my house like day and night. Like people were yelling at me on the street, "Hey, bag lady, have any Balenciaga?" I mean, it was too much. I was only doing it for fun. I wasn't trying to do it like as a career.
Right. You didn't want to start a business.
And I already knew then that I was ready to be creative again and start writing. Mm-hmm. So that's when I decided, okay, I really want to write and perform. And I took a workshop with, do you know Sarah Barron? She's a brilliant comedian. Yeah. She lives in London. She lives in London now. She's
she had
brilliant.
A book out, right?
Yes. She has like 2 or 3 books. Yeah. Or at least 2 books. She's brilliant. So I took a comedy writing class with her. She's brilliant. Mm-hmm. And somehow I then got to David Crabb, who is like, my son. I love
David.
And then I started working out material and then I finally got the courage to do something. And then that was like 7 years ago. And then I never stopped. I just started doing it. And I can't believe I'm still doing it because usually I don't do things this many years, but I love it and it's fun. And
you're good at it. I didn't know it was only 7 years ago. I assumed you were like master storyteller. Like you were like one of the names when I started doing comedy when I started doing more stand-up. I did stand-up and storytelling, I'd say at the same time. Right. But I knew your name in the storytelling world as like, and she's on all the shows and she wins all the moth contests and like.
Yeah. Well, I'm lucky enough that I think it's a diversity thing. And I'm not being self-deprecating here because I know I'm good at it. But there is a bit of a diversity thing where a lot of shows like to have one much older person, because it's interesting. Like, it's nice to have a show with 5 white dudes, but maybe you should have 2 women, okay? Well, it's nice to have 4 people under 30, but it's nice to have...
Interesting.
60-year-old, because my perspective, my point of view, and I'm still funny, is totally different. And there are a lot of very funny people that are over 50 and 60 years old. So I think it was an opportunity at the right time where maybe it was subconscious. People might not have realized that that's what they were doing. But and there were times when I didn't get booked on something and I saw who they hired and I thought, oh, that's the other older, funny woman.
Weird.
Which is fine. I embrace it. I like it. And being that I was an agent, I understand how it works. It's totally cool. And I think I'm very easy to work with because I always showed up on time. I always did the work, never complained, and that comes with age. A lot of young people maybe aren't always as professional, or they make a demand, or, and I know this from running my own show, as you know, like sometimes there's that person where you're like, I'm never going to hire this person again. Yeah. Like, why did I hire that person? They show up a half hour late. The material's you could tell they didn't really give it any thought, and you think last time I hired that person. So I'm easy, and I think when you're joyful about something and you love it, people like that and they want to be around that energy. But I think I'm actually starting my 8th year this fall. It'll be almost 8 years, but it's not that long.
So great. Well, I hope you do your show again now that, hopefully.
We'll get back to it. You have to do my show. You would be so good on my show. Oh my God.
I would love to do it.
We do. It's like no apologies. People tell true stories that are really awful. Like the time somebody shoplifted, told a major lie, cheated, stole, things that like you don't necessarily want to share. It's kind of like Risk, the podcast Risk.
Yeah, I did Risk
only
before.
This makes Risk look like, Mr. Rogers. Like the things that people would do, like somebody faked on our show. We had one person who told a story about faking her own death. I like really amazing stories.
Whoa.
So you have to do it. You'll have to come up with something. Yeah.
Oh my God. I did, I'm like, what would I tell? And I'm trying to think. One summer at camp, I went to camp and I lied and told everyone I learned sign language. And because of the TLC video, Unpretty, in the music video, they sign it. And I was like, I learned it. And I would people would be like, Anna, what's the word for this? And I'd make it up the whole summer long. I was like Hilaria Baldwin back then. I was literally pretending I knew
That's a really good story. You're going to tell that story on our show. You're going to tell that story on my show. Oh my God.
I don't think we ever came out with it that we didn't. I was terrible at camp.
Oh my God. Well, did you hear that story this year? It was all over the internet about that woman during some big, I don't know if the president or the governor, somebody was giving a speech and they had someone doing sign language and she made the whole thing up.
Oh, no.
It happened this year. She was going like this, and people were like, what the hell is she doing?
Oh,
it's all
man.
over. If you YouTube woman who doesn't know sign language, you're going to die. You're going to laugh. You're going to, she's like doing, I don't know what she's doing, but she's not doing it at all.
Oh, I'll have to watch it. I remember the woman they had for doing the WAP sign language outside of Cardi B's concert.
That was good.
I was like, to have to sign that is just amazing. Like, wet ass pussy over and over and over again.
I love that. Oh my God. Wouldn't you love to have been that sign language person who had to do that?
Yeah.
I mean, I wonder what they did for pussy.
I know.
Did they just I don't know what they... I don't know.
Cat.
Yeah, cat. Anyway, well, you're going to do that. You're going to do that on my show.
I would love to. Well, thank you so much for joining us. You're amazing.
Thank you for having me.
You've had so many funny jobs. I can't even pick my favorite. I don't know.
Well, I'm sorry I talked so much. I'm sorry you're going to have to edit all this shit out because
we won't edit. No,
rambling like crazy.
No, we loved it. We loved it.
Okay.
Where can everybody find you and see your stuff?
Well, I'm all over YouTube, Sandi Marx. I have my own channel, but I don't update it because, as I told you earlier, I'm very lazy.
Okay.
But it's on there. And I'm Sandi Marx, at Sandi Marx 3 on Instagram. But I don't do Insta stories because, as I've said, my aforementioned laziness prevents me from learning how to do that. And I'm on Facebook, Sandi Marx, and I update, what shows I'm going to be on or whatever I'm doing. And I try to promote when I'm not, lying prone at Shop and Stop, looking for the fresh yogurts. And that's it. So I'm around and I can be found pretty much. I have a website, but I haven't updated it since the pandemic. So no point in looking at that. There are no new dates on there. There's hardly any live activity.
I don't have any dates on my website.
Yeah.
No, I gave up on doing that a while ago.
Yeah. I just let it go. I think I still pay the yearly fees to the web thing, but it's not going to happen.
It's all right. It's good to have, people can look you up.
Yes. They want me. They can find me.
Awesome.
I'm available to anyone who wants to find me.
We love it. We love her. Great.
I love you. And thank you.
Oh, thank you. I love you too. Oh, what a great episode. I could listen to Sandi tell stories all day. She literally has...
She has a million.
The most. And they're fun.
And they're all great.
They're all random and different. And I love how I'm like, you told me you were a butt model or something. And she was like, oh, hold on for a second. I'm like, that was gold. That butt story was gold. Ellen, it reminded me, have I ever told you about when I was almost a naked body double?
No, I haven't heard about this, actually. Tell me, what?
Ellen, it reminded me, and, I didn't want to cut Sandi off because she had so many good stories, but I literally... When I moved to LA, I was very young and now I'm ancient, but I was very young and I was doing I signed up with the extras casting or whatever, like central casting, I think it's called. I think it's still called that. Mm-hmm. And I think I might have done 1 or 2 shows, but I was like, oh, if I do this, you're on set all day, I can't go to my job that I'm scheduled to do at night. The hours thing was really just, and I had a new puppy. It was all hard to manage because you literally show up and it's they could use you for 5 hours and they could use you for 20 hours and pay you overtime. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you just kind of have to do it. So I didn't do it much, but they had all of my measurements and stuff. You have to fill out a whole form or whatever. And I randomly got a notification or a message or I don't know, email. I don't even remember how they contact you saying you have the exact measurements for this. It wasn't even a stand-in. It was a body double for an actress for a film that we're looking for. Do you mind sending in more photos so the director can see if you have the right look for it, blah, blah, blah. Mm-hmm. And it was for Mila Kunis.
Oh.
And apparently... we are the same size.
That's
everywhere,
amazing.
Apparently. It was amazing. But so they tell me this for a body double. And I think, oh my God, for a movie, that means I'll be on for whatever scenes they need her body, but not, I didn't put it together that it was her naked body. for sex scenes. I was too young to think like,
what did
do you know what I mean?
Maybe she's taking
like,
a bath or she's in the shower or something.
I didn't even think about, yes, I am in. Oh my God, body double. And
also so flattering because she's like really awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. And I was like, well, of course I'd want to do this job. And then they sent me I think they sent me the scenes that it was for, and they were like, is this something you're still interested in? And they were all like sex scenes.
Do you know what movie it was?
And I do know what movie it is, but wait, hold on. Okay. I have to, what movie was it? Hold on.
Is it the one with, where it's like her and like her friend are like just hooking up and like not trying to fall in love or something?
Friends with Benefits? Yes. Is that the name of it?
I think it's something like that, yeah.
I'm aging myself. Friends with Benefits, something like that.
There's like a million movies that have the same plot, but yeah.
A rom-com, like where it's like, we're not going to fall in love. We're just going to have
not.
sex. But no, I would
There's no
never.
way.
You're such an attractive person. Why would I ever want to
That's not
going to
be the end of this movie. No.
Right. We're just friends who fuck. Yeah. So I don't even remember how the movie ends. So they send me the scenes. And I remember thinking and also how much pay it was per day, And I remember thinking I am very comfortable with my body. I don't mind, obviously, I show my ass on Instagram all the time, but I was like, ooh, but I've always said I'll do nudity. I am cool enough, with it. I don't mind. But this was nudity just for the crew, no one would, I'm not acting. No one's going to know it's my naked body except for me. And, that's it. I'm not telling my parents. I was like, no fucking way. And I don't think it was so much nudity. I think it was just boobs maybe are shown. I don't even know if boobs are shown or her butt. It was, but, I sent in the photos and I was very iffy about it. I was like, I don't know. I always thought, my first nudity project would be me fully stripped down because I'm on HBO and this is my moment, this is my scene.
And your face would
camera.
Be in there.
Right. This is, they're going to be like, can you lift your neck a little higher so we just see the chest and, below, me trying to sneak in my face hey, bitch, it's me. It's not Mila. So, yeah. Anyway, I sent in the photos, but I remember feeling weird about it. And they told me it was between me and someone else and the director went with someone else. They wrote, and I was like, that's probably for the best. I remember
so
being
close,
the money
though.
would have been nice. So close. I know. I was almost a naked body double.
That's amazing.
It was I had this whole, I was walking around town wow, I have the body they want, but not the face or the acting chops. They don't even know I'm an actor.
Maybe people see you from behind and they're like, is that Mila?
Yeah.
Wow.
I'm like, oh, sorry, no. It's just her butt.
Oh, that's really cool.
Thanks. Well, it didn't happen, but you know what? Sandi's didn't happen either, but it is a memory that we have forever. So,
Yeah.
I got it.
Love it.
All right. Well, guys, it was a great episode. I hope you enjoyed it. We are cooking our way. We are creeping our way, creeping our way up to 100 episodes. And I am going to make a huge deal out of the 100th episode. We're going to do a big live show. You're all going to freaking come. You're all going to tell me stories live. We're going to figure out, I have to produce a big event. I'm already planning it in my head, even though we have 30 more episodes to get there.
More like 20.
But we'll get there.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll get there. It's motivation to get those 20 in. You know what I mean? I really want to get to 100.
Yeah.
I want to be 100 years old. But in the meantime, go listen to the rest of the episodes. Someone on Twitter said they listened to 20 episodes on a road trip the other day, and they said thanks for the laughs. And I honestly,
awesome.
I love you. If you listen to this episode, thank you so much. That's very sweet of you. And if you guys have any stories that you want to write in about, if you want to tell them live and be a caller, or if you want to have us, read your story and discuss it on the air, seriously, theunemployedteam@gmail.com. Very, very easy. Or DM us on any social media platform, Twitter, on Instagram. We had so much fun doing that episode where we talked about other people's job stories than our own. So I love it, and I want to do more of it. And that's it. Find us. You want to watch this episode? You want to see how cute we are? Yo, go to the Patreon. Throw us a couple bucks. It's very sweet. You spend money on coffee. You know, why not entertainment? Why not support the arts?
Why not? Come on.
Why not? Right now, I just want to take a moment to thank everybody who has supported our Patreon. This is your shout out right here from me. Tons of love. And if you haven't checked out our Patreon, all of our videos go up there. Sometimes I just write fun things because I feel like it. And it's just a really nice way to support us at Unemployed and, you know, so we can keep this thing going. We do it for nothing. We do it for fun. We do it for you to listen to. So definitely check out the Patreon. And right now, huge shout out to our patrons, Bill Horton, Chi of Steele, Danielle McCartney, Lori Jackson, Jeannie Logan. We got Joe Galati, Chris Arneson, Jordan Lucero, Oscar Yuen, Ken Levin, and Vic Terry. Thank you so much. You have no idea how much it means to us, and I appreciate you, and I see you, and I love you.